Hello, family of light. Welcome and thank you for joining me on another action step going forward. And today is April 15th, 2026, and we are, wow, in some times of change. So, how do we ground? How do we balance? Well, we're going to work on those action steps together. And today we are actually on action step 10 out of 14 in our little manual, action steps going forward. And this one is awaken with nature. So, being in nature is one of the easiest and best ways to heal and practice your connection. Being in nature alone clears your energy and de stresses you with its beautiful negative ions. You know how we get bombarded with the Wi-Fi's and all that, right? So just going into nature, even if on your way home you stopped at a park, on your way home from work or wherever, even that is a simple act. But when you do it with intention, allow yourself to slow down and be one with it, that's a beautiful action step. So anyway, remember how wonderful it feels after a day in the park or at the beach, right? Your body feels so refreshed even though you're exhausted, but you feel cleansed. So, and then I have a couple bullet points here, a couple examples. Now, in Japan, they have special holidays honoring nature, like honoring the parks, honoring the trees, etc. Matter of fact, they call walking through the big overhanging trees, like that are in the woods, like when you walk through a pathway and they're all overhanging, right? The big canopies. They call it forest bathing. So as you walk through these beautiful natural canopies, your aura gets cleansed and you actually go home feeling refreshed and mentally clear. And that's just walking past trees. Now, a practice called earthing, which I love to do and I try to do every day, is spending as much time walking barefoot on the earth as possible. So there was a documentary on earthing created years ago, and it included scientific evidence of how the earth heals us through earthing or grounding. And you could find it at earthingmovie.com. So watch that earthing movie. And it was actually an electrician who kind of figured a lot of that out. And, it all, like, we got a little very disconnected for many reasons, but a lot of it happened once we started wearing rubber on the bottom of our feet. We lost that earth connection, right? So even just a few minutes a day, make that connection. It's amazing. So when I'm stressed, I stop what I'm doing and go outside to walk barefoot or sit on the grass and let go. Matter of fact, I make it a point to be outside as much as possible. Now you begin to feel your own connection and who you are as part of nature and the whole planet. It's a great way to find yourself, right? Just being in nature, spending that time. And then another point, trees and plants, including our house plants, respond to our energy. So if one of your houseplants isn't doing so good, practice communicating with it, sending it love. If it is done in a heartful way and practiced often, the plants will flourish. So next time you're in the park or the woods, try sitting under a tree like the Buddha, leaning back on its trunk to feel its energy melt into it. And then meditate or close your eyes for a few moments. Breathe and connect. You may even begin to have a conversation with one of the great record keepers. Oh, I love that. I've done it many times to the point where if it's a familiar place, and I move often, but the funny thing is I start talking to trees and I would ask them, what is their name? It started with one beautiful, they call them oak trees, those big trees in Florida where the Spanish moss hangs. And there was this massive one right near a lake that I would go visit. And after practicing this a while, I would hear him communicate, call him a him, but I asked him what his name was, and he told me his name was Merlin, which is one of my guys for long ago. And the more I connect with the animals around it. Like there'd always be gifts or messages. It's amazing. Like tried once, you might have something pop in your head and then you're like, oh, I just made that up, and you dismiss it. But, spend some time or do it repeatedly, go for walks a couple times a week and, stop, pick a tree, or maybe the tree even picks you. And then funny thing, I said I moved a lot. Did I? Well, I did. Or did I say that I meant? But I remember moving and then going to a different park and, just admiring the trees, saying hello, whatever. And then realizing, wow, they instantly started communicating. And so I asked, what is your name? And he would give me another funny name, whatever. I'm Merlin's cousin, they would tell me, because obviously they don't go by names. And yes, they are all connected, because I would hear him say things that are like from a conversation I had with the other tree in another town, right? And then I remember, wow, yeah, they're all connected. When the roots in the ground, when they're all one with Mother Earth, that means they all communicate. So that's really cool. And it happened a few times. Another time I stopped at a different park and I visited a couple times. I think I was just house sitting at that point. And so I certainly wasn't expecting anything. And literally, I didn't ask this tree anything. And it just became a joke where they would make up some name, and introduce themselves. And the conversations would continue. It's mind blowing. So anyway, don't underestimate the power of these simple action steps going forward, and there's nothing wrong with being a tree hugger. They love you unconditionally, just like the pets do, they're wise, they're amazing. Yeah, there's so much to them. So get to know your trees, get to know Mother Earth, connect, be one. I have a wonderful friend that comes to mind, and we would love to hike in the forest. And it's so funny when we set that intention and we go out and, we honor the forest, we bless it, we say hello, we just really connect, and we intend to connect as we walk. I mean, we literally will lay in the middle of the forest on the floor just to earth, let go of all the stress and just be one and all that. But if we intend, I don't know, there was quite a few times where we would have that intention of connecting, and she would lead ahead just in her fairy self. I mean, just that energy. She's not a fairy, but well, yeah, she could be. She is. But that loving, lighthearted energy, just knowing, trusting, being one with the forest. Wouldn't you know it? We're even on a tighter path. And then there was this one bush just waving and wiggling. There was no way, because of the other brush around it and the high canopy of trees, that a breeze, where you could blame it on the breeze. Like, yeah, air was moving, but the way that was swinging back and forth, like over here, so cool. So anyway, when, people say we are one, we truly are. So practice being one with nature. If you're uncomfortable doing it on a human level, start with the animals, or better yet, more easier, start with the trees, start with the plants. There's a natural frequency that you resonate with. So just sitting in the stillness, or sitting next to plants, or even your house plants. Right? There are people who I actually follow, I forgot the name right now, but this guy, he measures or it does a frequency, it kind of turns it into music, so you can really connect with the vibration. It's like they sing certain songs and we connect with that. And just one more thing, I wanted to keep this shorter, but all these things pop in. It's just so great. You have to try it. And, I know you've already experienced things like that. You just might have, said, that's nothing, I made that up. Or, yeah, let's not talk about that, right? But flowers, do you notice how flowers don't really smell that good anymore? Well, we've done a lot of damage with poisons and, different things. And yet when you connect spiritually with flowers, it's amazing. So a long time ago, I was staying with a friend and we would meditate, and we would literally take trips. We would work with the guys and we would go into Hollow Earth. And I don't know if I shared this before, but we would take, be open to guidance, or like we're taking classes, and we wanted to see what it was like living in these higher vibrations, or just being like, what is that? What is 5D like? What is that like, right? So we would go on these journeys. It's always these beautiful nature paths. And for a while, we'd walk together on this path to see what we would get or what the guides were saying, until we go off on our own adventures. But there's one point where my friend knows, and he loves flowers. And so over this hill, yonder in the distance, there was this red splash of color. So his attention leaned into it, like, ooh, like in your mind, you're thinking like, ooh, what flower is that? Right? So you're asking a question. Your energy, your consciousness, your awareness is reaching out. In that second where his consciousness and his awareness reached out, those flowers showed up. They were there. They were happy. They like greeted him. I don't know if it was a matter of his consciousness going, or how that actually worked, but it was one. There was no distance, no separation. Boom, the flowers are here, right? And he smelled them and he loved them. They made him happy, and they were in joy because he was in joy, right? And they were so willing to show themselves and give off their sense. And so fast forward a couple of years, where just a couple of years back, I was staying with a friend, and I'm in the backyard, and I was raking some leaves, and I'm kind of off in the distance, and I look way over, and I see the most beautiful magnolia bush, like overgrown, like, I don't know, 8 feet tall, huge. And I was thinking how, through the toxins and the pollution and whatever, the poor flowers, don't really smell like they used to. And yet, then I remembered that experience, and I just smiled at the bush, and, I thanked it for being so beautiful and gracing the space. And I was just so happy. And I just went about my raking. And then like a couple seconds later, all of a sudden, I breathed in the most beautiful, most powerful magnolia smell, as if somebody literally sprayed perfume in my face. Blew me away. Of course, after that, I would love on that bush like crazy, but nature is helping awaken us. And that was such a wake-up point again and again for me. So don't underestimate, just, it's simple, these action steps. And this went way longer than I wanted, but it's just so powerful. I want you to feel and be with that energy. So love yourself today. Take an action step. Go out in nature. And we'll connect again soon. Leave a comment. Let me know what came to you and any experiences out in nature. All right. Love you guys. Talk soon. Bye.